Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading from UPSC Civil Services examination perspective. Now today we are taking up the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 28 January 2023, and the news to be discussed has been displayed on your screen. Now today was the first day for Pre-Pareekshan 2023 and the test is also scheduled for tomorrow. Now for those of you who could not register for this test, do not worry. What you can do is that go to the center tomorrow and register yourself on the spot. So tomorrow's test will be conducted in 3 slots. The first slot is the morning slot where the test will start at 9 am. In the afternoon, the test will start at 1 pm and in the evening, the test will start at 5 pm. Now it's important to evaluate yourself before the real examination. And we at Raus IAS have come up with a free mock test, that is Pre-Pareekshan 2023. So do appear for the test to find out your own preparation level. Now let's start our discussion with this editorial appearing on page number 6. And this editorial is regarding the special address of the Honorable President of Republic of India. So this news highlights the founding ideals of the Indian Constitution. Adherence to the basic principles of the Constitution is what unifies India. And in this regard, the Honorable President has also reiterated this very idea of the basic principles of the Constitution and has also reiterated the founding ideals of Republic on the eve of 74th anniversary of adoption of its Constitution. Now this topic becomes important from the perspective of polity and governance under GS paper 2, particularly regarding the basic features or important features of the Indian Constitution, evolution, features, amendments, significant provisions and also basic structure. So this becomes a very important part of our syllabus, and here we need to understand that what has been highlighted by the Honorable President when she reiterated the founding ideals of the Republic of India. Now a republic is a form of government where people elect their representatives or elect their head of the state. Now this election can be either direct, that is direct election, or an indirect election. Or in other words, a republic can be said to be any form of government where head of the state is not a monarch. Now India being a democratic republic according to the Constitution of India, particularly its preamble, and India follows a parliamentary form of government. So in India, the head of the state is the president and head of the government is the prime minister who heads his council of ministers. And both the president and the prime minister are elected representatives. Even the vice president of India is also an elected representative. So with respect to Indian Republic, we can say that head of the state, that is the president, and head of the government, that is the prime minister, are not monarch. That is, they are not representative of any family, but rather they are elected by the people of India, one directly and the other indirectly. So some of the important features or ideals of the Constitution has been laid down in the preamble. So the preamble starts with the word, "We the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic." So ultimately, it's the people of the country with whom sovereignty lies in any modern republic, including India. Now the term republic has been derived from the Latin term res publica, which means the public thing. Now the President of India on the eve of Republic Day highlighted Indian Republic's continuing journey, and these continuing journey are with respect to securing the ideals of democracy, pluralism and empowerment of all the people, including the weaker sections of the society. And the Constitution of India has provided specific provisions in order to secure the weaker sections of the society, particularly the other backward classes, the scheduled caste and also the scheduled tribe, including providing reservation to these communities in education and also public services. And here the President highlights that the age-old values of Indian civilization has been protected through the Indian Constitution, which has over centuries believed in peace, brotherhood and equality. And it is these ideals which has been laid down in the Constitution of India. Now another important highlight of President's speech was that she stated that our Indian Republic has endured and evolved over a period of struggles. And the freedom struggle helped the constitution makers to imbibe the ideals to be laid down in the constitution in order to ensure this age-old wisdom of Indian civilization, which calls for peace, brotherhood, and equality. And in this regard, the thoughts of the people must also be appreciated, as they have played a profound role in ensuring the unity of this great country. And in this regard, the President of India highlighted that such a vast and diverse multitude of people coming together as one nation remains unprecedented in the world. She stated that we did so with the belief that we are after all one and that we are all Indians. She further highlighted that we as a nation have succeeded as a democratic republic because so many creeds and so many languages have not divided us. Rather, they have only united us, and this is the essence of India. And on this note, she also focused on Mahatma Gandhi's ideals of Sarvodaya, that is, upliftment for all. And this can also be reflected through the welfare policies adopted by the Government of India, as highlighted in the Directive Principles of State Policy, which forms Part 4 of the Indian Constitution. Now, despite our long journey of success as a democratic republic, there have been certain challenges as highlighted by the President, and these challenges in the past includes political authoritarianism, sectarian extremism, separatism, and also some kind of violence. And all these together challenge the very ideals on which the Constitution of India has been based upon. And yet, despite these challenges, the Constitution of India has emerged more strong because of the faith of the people of India in this great country. Now, as I've already stated, that the preamble to the Constitution of India highlights some of the very basic ideals on which the Indian Constitution has been built upon. So it says that we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens social, economic, and political justice, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and unity and integrity of the nation. Now, some part of the preamble has been amended as the term secular and socialist was added by Constitution 42nd Amendment along with the term integrity. So it says that in our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. Hence, this Constitution of India was adopted on 26 November 1949, but it came into effect on 26 January 1950. And since then, we have been celebrating the Republic Day on 26 January every year. Now, this topic becomes important, and let's go through this particular question asked by UPSC in 2016. The question was, discuss each adjective attached to the word Republic in the preamble. Are they defendable in the present circumstances? So here you need to discuss about sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. And in the present circumstances, you also need to highlight the challenges which pose to these important ideals which has been provided in the preamble to the Constitution of India. Now, another important question is preamble a part of the Constitution? Because no article as such has been mentioned in the preamble. So the Supreme Court in the famous Berubari case highlighted that preamble is not a part of the Indian Constitution. However, this judgment was reversed in case of Nanda Bharti case, which held that preamble is very much part of the Constitution of India. And this judgment has overall settled this debate that preamble is very much a part of the Indian Constitution. Let's also go through these questions asked in the prelims by UPSC. This question asked in 2020 was, the preamble to the Constitution of India is. Options were A, part of the Constitution but has no legal effect. B, not a part of the Constitution and has no legal effect either. C, is a part of the Constitution and has the same legal effect as any other part. And D, a part of the Constitution but has no legal effect independently of the other parts. Now in this, the most appropriate answer is D, as preamble is very much part of the Constitution but has no legal effect independently of the other parts, including fundamental rights, DPSP, or any other part. So here the correct answer was D. Now these two questions were asked in 2017. The question was, which one of the following objectives is not embodied in the preamble to the Constitution of India? Options are liberty of thought, economic liberty, liberty of expression, and liberty of belief. Now, this question has been derived from this expression on liberty provided in the preamble, as it mentions about liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. So, these are the 5 terms associated with liberty. However, economic liberty has not been provided in the preamble. Hence, the correct answer is B. Now, coming to this simple question, which was the mind of the makers of the Constitution of India is reflected in which of the following? Options were A, the preamble, B, the fundamental rights, C, DPSP, and D, fundamental duties. In this, the correct answer is A, that is the preamble to the Constitution of India. Now, as you can see, questions have been asked both in the prelims and mains examination regarding the preamble or the important ideals provided in the preamble. So, all these ideals becomes very important both from our prelims and mains perspective. Now, talking about the basic ideals of the Constitution, we also have to know about the basic structure. Now, the basic structure doctrine was also enumerated in the famous Kesavananda Bharati judgment. And according to the theory of basic structure, the important ideals of the Indian Constitution, which has been considered as the basic structure, cannot be amended by the Parliament. So effectively, the basic structure doctrine limits the power of Parliament to amend certain features of the Indian Constitution and hence ensures the ideals of constitutionalism, because constitutionalism refers to limited constitution or a constitution which sets certain limits on its government. So it highlights that as per the judgment, basic structure of the Constitution cannot be altered or amended by the Parliament or the executive. And the ruling has contributed to the evolution of the Indian Constitution in the following ways. It has set specific limits to the Parliament's power to amend the Constitution, and it says that no amendment can violate the basic structure of the Constitution. Now, I'm sure you must have gone through various judgments such as NJAC judgment or other judgment whereby the Supreme Court held that it is violative of the basic structure doctrine and hence such amendment is unconstitutional. Further, the basic structure doctrine has allowed the Parliament to amend any and all parts of the Constitution within this limitation. That is, the Parliament has power to amend all parts of the Constitution, but it cannot touch those ideals which has been laid down in the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. And third, it places the judiciary as the final authority in deciding if an amendment violates basic structure and what constitutes the basic structure. So it also empowers the judiciary to look into any legislation, any laws, any by-orders, whether they have violated any of the basic structure of the Constitution, including any constitution amendment. Now, another important aspect about basic structure is that it is not an exclusive list and more terms can be added futuristically. And so far, some of the ideals of the Indian Constitution has been made part of the basic structure, and these cannot be amended by the Parliament under Article 368. So some of the aspects which are part of basic structure are supremacy of the Constitution, republican and democratic form of government, secular character of the Constitution, separation of powers between the legislature, executive and the judiciary, based on which the NJAC Act and the Constitution 99th Amendment was declared unconstitutional, federal character of the Constitution, the mandate to build a welfare state contained in directive principles of state policy, sovereignty and unity and integrity of the nation, essential features of the individual freedoms secured to the citizens, the aspect of judicial review added by the Supreme Court judgment in Minerva Mills, and secularism as part of basic structure, which was further emphasized in the Supreme Court judgment in SR Bommai versus Union of India. And if you look into this question asked by UPSC in 2019, the question was, Parliament's power to amend the Constitution is a limited power and it cannot be enlarged into absolute power. In light of this statement, explain whether Parliament under Article 368 of the Constitution can destroy the basic structure of the Constitution by expanding its amending power. Now, 3 important questions were also asked in the prelims of 2020 and also in the prelims of 2021. Now, first of all, look into these 2 questions. This was asked in the prelims of 2020 and this was in 2021. And the nature of question is almost similar. Here the question is, a constitutional government by definition is a, options were A, government by legislature, B, popular government, C, multi-party government, and D, limited government. Obviously, the correct answer is D. And similarly, the question in 2021 was, constitutional government means Options were A. A representative government of a nation with federal structure. B. A government whose head enjoys nominal powers. C. A government whose head enjoys real powers. And D. A government limited by the terms of the constitution. Here also the correct answer is D. Now let's look into this question asked on basic structure in 2020 itself. The question was, consider the following statements. First, the Constitution of India defines its basic structure in terms of federalism, secularism, fundamental rights and democracy. Now the Constitution of India has not defined this term basic structure. This is a judicial construct and was given in the famous judgment of Kesav Nanda Bharti. Second, the Constitution of India provides for judicial review to safeguard the citizens' liberties and to preserve the ideals on which Constitution is based. Now this term judicial review has been provided under apostrophe. Now this term judicial review has not been provided in the Constitution, although the judiciary has the power of judicial review which can be inferred from various provisions such as Article 13, Article 32, Article 226, Article 131, Article 136, etc. But the term judicial review has not been provided for in the Constitution. Hence this statement also becomes incorrect according to the UPSC answer sheet, and here the correct answer becomes D, that is neither 1 nor 2. Now look into this question asked on the parliamentary form of government, again asked in 2020. The question was, parliamentary system of government is one in which options are A. All political parties in the parliament are represented in the government. No. B. The government is responsible to the parliament and can be removed by it. Yes. Let's look at option C and D also. The government is elected by the people and can be removed by them. And D. The government is chosen by the parliament but cannot be removed by it before completion of a fixed term. No, in this the correct answer becomes B, as it is supported by Article 75 Clause 3, which states that the Council of Ministers shall be responsible to the Lok Sabha, and hence the government is responsible to the parliament and can be removed by it. So these different terms becomes important. Also the form of government becomes important, and questions have been asked on basic structure, on republic, on preamble, and also on parliamentary form of government, including the aspect of constitutionalism, which is highlighted by a limited government. So all these topics becomes very important both from our prelims and also mains examination, particularly under GS paper 2 regarding evolution, features, amendments, significant provisions and basic structure of the Indian Constitution. Now let's take up another very important news appearing on page number 6 in the editorial section, and this news says that India's groundwater governance is in better shape. Now previously number of articles have appeared in the Hindu newspaper, and we have also covered in the DNS regarding the problem of groundwater or depletion of groundwater and various reasons for depletion of groundwater, including environmental reasons or reasons with respect to climate change, and also reasons with respect to the aspect of economy or industrialization, and also growing population or demands of population, as both growing industrialization and population both requires water for various purposes. So in this backdrop, this article highlights that despite these challenges, number of steps have been taken by the Government of India along with the cooperation of various states. And these steps have not only helped to identify those areas which are water stressed or where there is less groundwater, but has also helped to reduce the impact of over extraction of groundwater. Now focusing on the importance of water for people and also the depletion of groundwater, even the United Nations came up with this report of UN World Water Development Report of 2022, where the title of the report was Groundwater Making the Invisible Visible. So the author has highlighted that India has a geographical area of 2.4%. However, the share of world's population in India is 18% and water consumption is 4% of water resources. So it's difficult to provide safe drinking water, particularly under the Jal Jeevan mission of the Government of India. And for this purpose, we need to identify those areas which are water stressed or where there is depleting groundwater. Now, groundwater is very important because it not only fulfills the drinking water needs of the population, as it fulfills 80% of the drinking water needs, but also it fulfills the 2/3 of the irrigation needs. So basically it fulfills the drinking water needs of the population and also the agricultural need of the farmers. So on this note, let us understand the basics of groundwater and also about the aquifer system and also about various policies of the central government which has helped to improve India's groundwater governance. Now before moving further, let's understand the basics with respect to water table and groundwater. Now this extract has been taken from NCERT and it says that if we dig a hole in the ground near a water body, we may find that the soil is moist. So it's possible that the soil in that area contains moisture. The moisture in the soil indicates presence of water underground. And if we dig deeper and deeper, we would reach a level where all the space between the particles of soil and gaps between the rocks are filled with water. So basically, if we start digging deeper, then we find that some of the layers of soils or some of the layer between the rocks is filled with water. So suppose these are the layer of rocks and this is where the water is filled. So it says that the upper limit of this layer is called the water table and the water table varies from place to place. Now this will also depend on the amount of water a particular area is receiving either through rivers or various water system or even through rain. So it's possible that in a dry region like Rajasthan, the water table may be several feet below earth, whereas in some other areas in West Bengal, the water table is much higher. So it says that the water table varies from place to place and it may even change at a given place. The water table may be at a depth of less than a meter or maybe several meters below the ground, depending on the geographical location of that particular area. Another important point highlighted is that the water found below the water table is called groundwater. So please remember this important basics that the water which is found below the water table is called groundwater. So groundwater is basically a collection of rainwater or water coming from different sources such as rivers, ponds, seeps or canals, and these water get seeped into the soil. So it says that the rainwater and water from other sources such as rivers and ponds seeps through the soil and fills the empty spaces and cracks deep below the ground. The process of seeping of water into the ground is called infiltration. The groundwater thus gets recharged by this process. So the amount of groundwater in a given area will depend on the amount of infiltration taking place in that area. It further says that at places the groundwater is stored between layers of hard rock below the water table. This is known as aquifer. And water in the aquifer can be usually pumped out with the help of tube wells or hand pumps. So as you can see in this particular map, this is an aquifer which is stored between the layers of hard rock below the water table. And generally water can be extracted from an aquifer by using hand pump or tube wells. Now after understanding the basics of groundwater and water table, in the previous DNS dated 15th September 2022, we discussed this aspect of sustainability of groundwater. Now we know that groundwater is recharged through various processes of infiltration, such as through rain or rivers or ponds, so water seeps in through the soil. However, the problem is that the amount of infiltration or recharge of groundwater is less as compared to its discharge, that is extraction of groundwater. And this discharge of groundwater has increased over a period of years. And this excessive discharge of groundwater as compared to its recharge is depleting groundwater storage. So various reasons for excessive discharge of groundwater includes intensive extraction, climate change impacting the rain system, and also drying of water ecosystem. So all these have an impact with respect to human settlement, water required for drinking purposes, water required for agriculture through irrigation, and also water required for industrial purposes. And for all these reasons, excessive water is taken out from the groundwater and it is not able to fill up through infiltration. So recharge is less as compared to discharge. And this greater discharge of water has depleted the groundwater. So in the last DNS, we discussed that there is a need for proper groundwater management. There's a need to identify arid areas so that in such areas, extraction could be limited. There's a need for sustainable extraction of groundwater, particularly in the dry regions. And there's also a need for balance on the use of groundwater, both in the rural and urban areas. As in the urban areas, demand for groundwater extraction is increasing day by day because of rapid urbanization. And also there's a need to recycle groundwater so that it can be reused for drinking and other purposes. Now, all these have been discussed previously in the DNS dated 15th September 2022. And in order to address these issues, the government of India has come up with few schemes. And this article has highlighted those schemes and has suggested that these schemes have actually helped to improve groundwater governance. Now, before moving further, it's also important to understand the very important concept of water stress. Now, water stress is said to occur in a given area if the demand for safe usable water exceeds the supply for such safe usable water. And while determining water stress, two other aspects are also calculated, that is quality of water. So suppose if the quality of water is very bad, then the use of such bad quality water will be restricted. And hence we can say that because of bad quality of water, water stress in a given area will increase because the supply of fresh or safe usable water has declined. And the second aspect is water accessibility. So for use of such water, the water has to be accessible for the local public. So an area can be said to have water stress if the supply of safe usable water is less as compared to its demand. Now we have already gone through the various sources of fresh or safe usable water, and these includes surface water such as water available through rivers, lakes or reservoirs, and also groundwater access through aquifers. So the various steps taken by the central government to regulate groundwater usage in collaboration with the states are launch of Jal Doot app, creation of Jal Shakti Ministry, implementation of Atul Bhujal Yojana, launching of Jal Shakti Abhiyan, and also implementation of National Aquifer Mapping and Management Program. And here the author has highlighted that all these steps taken by the government of India in collaboration with the states has not only improved groundwater depletion, but with the use of modern scientific methods has also helped to identify water stressed areas. So we will go through all these steps taken by the government to regulate groundwater usage in detail. Now, apart from this, there is another aspect which has been emphasized in this article, and this aspect is the aspect of collaborative federalism or working in coordination with the state government. So here this article says that the central government is working to achieve the goal of sustainable groundwater management in collaboration with states and union territories to ensure the following. First, to ensure reduction in groundwater extraction to below 70%. Second, to increase the network of groundwater observation wells, as this will give us a clearer picture about the water table and also the amount of groundwater in that particular area. Installing digital water level recorders for real-time monitoring and also uploading the data to have a real-time monitoring. Periodic monitoring of groundwater quality in order to find out if there are any impurities such as heavy metal impurities or other impurities which may lead to any deadly disease. Aquifer mapping and data dissemination. Better regulation of groundwater extraction by industries, and also the government is promoting participatory groundwater management in collaboration with the local people and other stakeholders such as civil society, and even periodic groundwater resource assessment. So all these steps have been taken by the government in collaboration with the states and union territories, thereby promoting the idea of cooperative federalism. Now on this note, let's go through the schemes of the central government for proper groundwater management. And in doing so, let's keep these points in mind. Now firstly, let's discuss about creation of Jal Shakti Ministry, as this author highlights that by merging the erstwhile Ministry of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Regeneration along with drinking water and sanitation, this has given special impetus to the management of water resources with special focus on demand and supply management with respect to use of underground water. Next, launch of Jal Doot app, and this we have also discussed in the DNS dated 28 September 2022. Now, this app has been jointly developed by Ministry of Rural Development and Ministry of Panchayati Raj, and this app aims to measure groundwater in every village in two phases. First, pre-monsoon, that is from 1st to 31st May, and then after monsoon, that is from 1st to 31st of October, as it will help to identify the amount of groundwater prior and post-monsoon. And for this purpose, officers named as Jalduts have been appointed who will need to upload geotagged photographs of these wells through the app on every occasion of measurement. And this will also help to capture ground level water both in an offline and online mode. So the Jaldut app will give us a clearer picture about the measurement of groundwater, especially in villages through various wells. Now next is Atul Bhujal Yojana. Now the goal of this scheme is to demonstrate community-led sustainable groundwater management which can be taken to scale. So the idea is community participation for sustainable use of groundwater management. And the major objective of Atul Bhujal Yojana is to improve the management of groundwater resources in select water-stressed areas, which has been identified in the states of Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. So this scheme will be implemented in some of the water-stressed areas in these states. Now the scheme of Atal Bhujal Yojana to be implemented in these states will cover both hard rock aquifers of peninsular India and also the alluvial aquifers of Indo-Gangetic plains. Now we know that alluvial soil is mostly found along the Indo-Gangetic plain, and hence the aquifers in northern India are mainly alluvial aquifers, whereas areas in southern India does not comprise of these alluvial plains and comprises hard rocks. Hence the aquifers in the southern area or in the peninsular area comprises of hard rock aquifers as compared to the alluvial aquifers in northern India or in the Indo-Gangetic plains. Now under the Atul Bhujal Yojana, these states were selected based on various criteria such as degree of groundwater exploitation and degradation, established legal and regulatory instruments to regulate groundwater extraction, institutional readiness, and experience in implementing initiatives related to groundwater management. An overall aim of Atul Bhujal Yojana is to enhance recharge of aquifers and introduce water conservation practices, promote activities related to water harvesting, water management and crop alignment, create institutional structure for sustainable groundwater management, and equip the communities and stakeholders to sustainably manage groundwater. So basically the idea also is to involve the community in order to recharge their aquifers so that the amount of groundwater can be further improved. Now the next scheme is Jal Shakti Abhiyan, which was launched in 2019. Now Jal Shakti Abhiyan was also launched in 2021 and then in 2022. So there are three versions of Jal Shakti Abhiyan. So it highlights that in 2019, it was launched in 256 water-stressed districts in the country in collaboration with states by realizing the importance of community participation. So two aspects highlighted here. One is collaborative federalism and community participation. And it aimed to promote water conservation and water resource management by focusing on accelerated implementation of 5 targeted interventions. And these 5 targeted interventions are: first, water conservation and rainwater harvesting, renovation of traditional and other water bodies such as ponds, lakes, etc., reuse of water and recharging of structures so as to improve infiltration for the aquifers so that the amount of groundwater increases, watershed development and intensive afforestation, that is the conversion of abandoned and degraded agricultural lands into forest, as afforestation will further help to improve recharge abilities of the aquifers. Now the scope of Jal Shakti Abhiyan of 2019 was further expanded and it was renamed as Jal Shakti Abhiyan Catch the Rain for pre-monsoon and post-monsoon period. And the theme for the second leg of Jal Shakti Abhiyan was Catch the Rain Where It Falls When It Falls. So the idea is to reuse rainwater. And this second leg of the Jal Shakti Abhiyan scheme was taken up to cover all the blocks of all districts, rural and urban areas across the country in March 2021. And the second leg of the Jal Shakti Abhiyan campaign had 5 focused intervention areas. First, rainwater harvesting and water conservation. Second, enumerating, geotagging and making inventory of all water bodies, as this will help to find out the number of water bodies in a given area. Preparation of scientific plans for water conservation. Setting up Jal Shakti Kendra in all districts, intensive afforestation efforts, and also awareness generation among the local population. Now, under the third leg of Jal Shakti Abhiyan launched in March 2022, region-wise aquifer management plans are also being prepared and shared with the states. As the idea is also to find out areas of high groundwater extracting industrial urban clusters and also groundwater stressed regions. That is, such areas where more extraction of groundwater is taking place, particularly in the urban industrial clusters. Further, the idea is also to check for the presence of impurities, including heavy and trace metals. Under this program, a software named Ingress, that is India Groundwater Resource Estimation System, has also been developed. Now, other than Jal Shakti Abhiyan, the government has also launched the National Aquifer Mapping and Management Program. So it is being implemented with the objective to demarcate the area and characterize the aquifers and also develop plans for groundwater management. Now, this program aims to identify and map the aquifers. Now, one of the main purpose of this map is to improve our understanding about the geologic framework of aquifers. That is the framework of rocks of the aquifers, their hydrologic characteristic, that is characteristic with respect to the water, and also water levels in the aquifers and how they change over time. Further, this program will also help us to understand about the occurrence of natural and anthropogenic contaminants, that is contaminants created by human-induced activity, which may affect the quality and potability of groundwater. Now, in this regard, it's also important to understand the meaning of aquifer mapping. So it says that aquifer mapping can be defined as a scientific process which includes a combination of these aspects to map the different kind of aquifers present in the country, as these different kinds of aquifers present in the country will also gives us an idea about the level of groundwater and also the quality of groundwater being stored in these different aquifers. So it says that aquifer mapping can be defined as a scientific process wherein a combination of geologic, that is study of rocks, geophysical, which is study of physics of earth and its environment in space, hydrologic, that is scientific study of movement, distribution and management of water, including water cycle, water resources and also drainage basin sustainability, and chemical field and laboratory analysis of these water stored in these aquifers. So a combination of all these are applied to characterize the quantity, quality and sustainability of the groundwater in aquifers. So basically, mapping of these aquifers will further help us to determine whether this groundwater in these different aquifers or different kinds of aquifers in the country can be actually used or not. And it will also help to identify water stressed areas in different parts of the country. So the author in this article has concluded by saying that promising results have been found by implementing these various schemes with respect to underground water management. So the first promising result is that there have been reduction in overexploited areas. So it says that there has been 3% reduction in the number of overexploited groundwater units and 4% increase in number of safe category units as compared to 2017. So other than reduction in overexploited areas, groundwater which can be considered safe for various purposes have also increased. Further, it says that there was an improvement in groundwater condition in 909 units. The assessment also showed a reduction in annual extraction and overall extraction of groundwater. So there was also reduction in extraction of groundwater, as the overall extraction saw a declining trend of about 3.25% since 2017. And around 9.37 billion cubic meters of additional groundwater potential was created through artificial water conservation structures. So basically, new groundwater has been created through artificial water conservation efforts. So these are some of the promising results regarding groundwater management. And because of this, the author has highlighted that India's groundwater governance is in better shape. And the crux of this article can be said to be the fact that government's intervention through various schemes for better and scientific management of groundwater situation in India reflect the spirit of cooperative federalism in managing a precious resource. So it's not only the implementation of these various schemes, but also the collaboration and the inclination shown by the state government to improve groundwater highlights an important aspect of cooperative federalism. Hence, this topic gets covered both under GS paper 3, particularly with respect to environment, under GS paper 2 with respect to cooperative federalism, and also under GS paper 1 with respect to geography regarding groundwater extraction and also recharge. Now let's take up this lead article appearing on page number 6. And this article says that the moral and intellectual crisis in economic policies. The author highlights that economic growth must create equal opportunities for all in India to learn and earn with dignity. And the leaders of the country must give shape to this in the year of G20 presidency. So here in this article, the author has highlighted certain concerns about Indian economy. And I've highlighted some of these concerns here. So let's go through some of the concerns which forms the crux of this entire discussion. So the first point raised by the author regarding concern on Indian economy is declining employment elasticity. So here we need to understand this term of employment elasticity and also about jobless growth. So the first 3 points as highlighted by the author is that first, it says declining employment elasticity. Indian economy is not generating good jobs, that is good quality of jobs. And the third, jobless growth has increased. So let us understand these 3 important terms highlighted in this article. Now, employment elasticity is basically a measure of percentage change in employment as compared to percentage change in GDP growth. So suppose for example, GDP of India grew by 3% in the last year. So in order to understand whether employment elasticity has increased or decreased, then we need to find out whether this increase in growth or GDP was able to sustain the change in employment. However, if we see that there has been a decline in job creation, then it means that employment elasticity has decreased. So employment elasticity indicates the ability of an economy to generate employment opportunities as percentage of its growth process. So basically it means that if an economy is growing at a certain percentage, say 5%, then is the economy able to create enough jobs at the rate at which it is growing? That's why employment elasticity measures the percentage change in employment as compared to the percentage change in GDP. And another term, jobless growth, can also be understood in this very context. Now, in a jobless growth, economy grows, but at the same time, unemployment remains very high. So in a jobless growth, employment elasticity declines. That is, although the economy is growing, yet it is not able to generate enough employment opportunities or as proportionate to the growth of the economy. So overall, in a jobless growth, growing economy is not able to provide enough job opportunities to people. Now there can be various reasons for jobless growth. Now moving to the next point as highlighted in the article, it says that less employment in the organized sector, particularly in the manufacturing and services. So this article says that the organized sector, particularly of manufacturing and services, are not able to create enough employment opportunities. And this also becomes one of the reasons for jobless growth in India. Another reason for jobless growth is lack of demand and supply with respect to the skill sets of people. And this also applies to most of the college pass outs who remain unemployable despite earning their degree, because there is a huge gap in their learnings and what is actually needed in the real world. Now another reason for jobless growth is large size of informal sector and its small scale of operation. Now since the scale of operation or the magnitude of operation for MSMEs are small, Hence, they are not able to provide good quality of job, and the people working in the informal sectors often do not have enough social securities as well. So all these end up creating more jobless growth. And because of the small size of operation, they are not able to provide enough job opportunities despite their growth. Hence, this also can be said to be one of the reasons for jobless growth in India. Now, another concern highlighted by the author is the informalization of jobs in the formal sector, which means even the formal sector is looking to employ people mostly on contractual basis, or they are also willing to outsource their work, employ gig workers on contract or for a specific period of time. So this informalization of jobs, particularly in the formal sector, is further leading to jobless growth, because this in a way is also downsizing the employment opportunities, as informal jobs are being preferred in the formal sector as well. Now, this article further highlights that increase in female labor force participation will not solve the problem of Indian economy, as it cannot generate enough jobs. Now, the female labor force participation in India has declined. It means less women in India are working, and this is also because of lack of job both in the formal and informal sector. So in this regard, this author highlights that even though there is an increase in female labor force participation, it will not solve the problems of Indian economy, because Indian economy, because of its current status, is not able to generate good quality jobs. And overall, there is a need to shift perspective from growth-oriented approach towards an inclusive economy, which also takes into account environmental sustainability, which takes into account human dignity, and it should also focuses on social, economic, and political freedom of people. So industry should not only look forward to only growth-oriented approach, but should take an inclusive approach, which includes sustainability of the environment, which ensures human dignity during their employment, and which also focuses on social, economic, and political freedom of employees. And this change in perspective will help to shape a new economy. So these are some of the highlights of this article titled The Moral and Intellectual Crisis in Economic Policies. And this topic gets covered under GS Paper 3 with respect to Indian economy. With this, we come to an end to today's discussion. Thank you for watching DNS.